Move on. Welcome to Vintage Cars of Victoria. I'm Joey Scarfone. We're going to take a look at the city's exciting vintage car culture and some of the rarest and most beautiful vintage cars that live right here in Victoria. Stay tuned, I think you'll enjoy this. Today we are visiting the home of Jim Sloan and Mary Ellen Echle. We'll be taking a look at their 1960 Corvette convertible. John Morris will also be here with his 63 split window, and Jim Colwill will be joining us with his 66 Stingray. And here they come now. So Jim, can you talk a little bit about the evolution of the design of the Corvettes?
Okay, what they wanted to do is Chevrolet wanted to get some excitement going on. So what they did is they decided to come out with a sports car for Americans because there was a big demand for sports cars, all European. So what they did is they kind of designed this new looking car, smaller, lighter, fiberglass, the new product they brought out and that kind of stuff. So what they did is they wanted to get something that a sports car person would like, but it's an American car. So they designed this car to be, smaller, lower, faster, but unfortunately they only had a 6-cylinder automatic transmission to go in it. So it was the right idea, but it didn't have a lot of mechanicals to make it perfect.
So the first model wasn't really well received by the general public?
No, it wasn't, and they also didn't want it to go to the average person, so they only made 300 of them. So what they did is they want to kind of do a bit of a market test to throw how popular this might have been. The purists who like sports car kind of yawned. It was slow, automatic, not a big fan. No standard transmission, not a big fan. So it wasn't really that received by the general public, and it was expensive.
So what year did it finally catch on?
55 was the first year it came out with a V8, so that was a step in the right direction. They got into wanting to get a standard. So 56 was the first year where they did a restyle body, a little bit more sleek. They had finally their V8. They had the 4-speed and the 3-speed standard. Now people started to notice it was more of a sports car. So it was better received, better car.
And the actual body design, that evolved in sort of 5 or 6 year increments, am I right?
Yeah, what it was is Harley Earl, who was the big stylist for General Motors at the time, he liked European cars, so he realized he liked the styling cue. It was all about style for him. So what he did is he based this car, basically the original, on a Jaguar XK120. He liked the size, he liked the wheelbase. Little styling cues on this one with the ribs on the hood, Mercedes, the round grille with the teeth, Ferrari. They didn't really let that out because they wanted to be an all-American car, but it has a lot of European styling to it, which he liked, but it was kind of a hushed up little thing about that. '57, of course, was a big time when they brought out the fuel injection. A lot of cars in Europe had fuel injection, Mercedes especially, so they kind of noticed that. Much more power, better racing. Started getting into the racing. In this model, 1960, the first year they took Chevrolet to Le Mans. That's a European race. It's first in class, 8th overall. The Europeans who kind of poo-pooed American cars really liked the idea of this new Corvette. So 60 was the year that they kind of broke into the European market. Now this one here, there was 3 options available in 1960. There was the 230 horsepower, which I have, the single carburetor. There was the dual carburetor, which was 245 horsepower. And then there was the fuel injection units, that was up to 315. That's the most exotic. This one here with the single carburetor, the 230 horsepower, that's the most reliable. So not finicky, basic, that's the one that's in here right now.
Is this a day rider for you? Are you driving this car all the time, or?
I try to get it out at least every week. Old cars like to be driven. I don't like them to sit. So about every week or two, I like to get it out, drive it around. Keeps everything nice, keeps everything fresh. I put only a certain amount of gas. Yeah, I like it. It's got bias ply tires. It's exactly the way it would have been in 1960. That's the original Wonderbar radio, which was one of the first seek and scan type of radio. Still works. It's the original tube radio, so it has to actually warm up. And there was no FM during the time, so it's just an AM tube radio. So basically, it's always been a 2-seater. What you see is basically what they look like from 58 through about 62. Clock still works. So basically, you've got your setup. The unusual thing about this one, it's got power windows, which was extremely rare during the time. But I like it.
What year was it that they started getting away from this design?
This design pretty much stayed until 62. So what this is, the first generation was called a C1, 53 to 1962. Generically the same type of car. After this car would run its time, 61, 62, started looking a little different. The ducktail Stingray back end on this car, different front end, a little bit, no teeth. So as they were moving forward, 1963 was the first year of the new generation called a C2. That was the Stingray. That was a whole game changer and didn't look anything like this car. Totally different, sophisticated look. Made this kind of old school immediately. So that's the difference between the C1 and the C2, the Stingray.
I see. And can you talk a little bit about the dashboard? It almost looks Art Deco to me.
Yeah, what it was a very popular look, and what it was modeled after actually is like an airplane. Everything was in front of you. The older versions of the C1, 53 through 57, all the instruments were spread across the dash. So the tachometer was actually in the middle. So what they did is they said that's a little weird to look at. So what they did is they combined everything into a binnacle, they called it, and put everything in front of the driver, and it had a little bit of an airplane look to it. So that became a very popular look.
Very easy to read.
Yeah, you can see everything right in front of you. You don't have to take your eyes and look down towards the right.
This is one of the most iconic Corvettes of its age, that's for sure. What was it that attracted you to this? Was it the era, or was it the vintage, or what was it?
Well, I'm a 50s kind of car guy anyways. My brother, who's 10 years older, had a lot of cars. I like the Corvette because I'm a Chevrolet guy. I had my first new car was a Chevrolet Camaro. This is the top dog of Chevrolet. I like the styling, I like the two-tone. The Corvette, as a kid, I love models of it. So the opportunity to get one that's a real car, to me, was kind of exciting.
Well, Jim, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to do this. It's been really fascinating.
Good, thanks very much for having the interest.
I'm here with John Morris and his split-window Corvette. John, can you tell us a little bit about this very unique car?
Well, it was the first year of the new Stingray design, 1963, which only lasted till 1967. Very uniquely in the year one, much consternation at General Motors because of the way the design for the coupe was made. Less than half of what they made that year were coupes. The rest were the convertible. And it has become a unique car, and it only happened that year. It's always been my dream to have a 63 Corvette. I had some good friends in the Victoria Corvette Club who told me finally one guy heard about a fellow up in Duncannon who had one of these in a storage unit for about 10 years.
Oh my goodness.
And had never been, he never drove it. He was a collector, not a driver. First of all, he was very reluctant about selling it, but I went up there, I met with him, and then he said, okay, why don't we go over and have a look at it? He had this huge shed with a number of exotic cars, classics, and this was all covered up in a big old tarp. When they took the tarp off, my heart sank like a rock because it was covered in mouse dung. And I thought, oh my God, what do we got here? Opened up the engine bay and you could see where the mice had been, that's for sure. So I said, wow. So he of course didn't know that because he never took the cover off. He went into negotiations and they finally made a deal, and part of the deal was he had to make it road ready in terms of it could be certified by ICBC to get the license plate. It had never been registered in BC.
So he did the restorations, or did you have to do restorations?
He made it roadworthy, primarily the engine bay. The body was fine. There was no problem with that. This is the second paint job, but it had been repainted earlier in its career. And the interior was good, other than it was quite musty, as you can imagine, because it was in this storage unit for so long. I have a good contact over on the mainland, Gary York at Speed Company, that developed his specialty is Corvettes, and he did all the engine work. So it's been a fun journey.
Can you talk a little bit about the split window itself, which was a peculiar design?
At one point they almost stopped making the Corvette because GM had not sold many units. Thunderbird actually outsold them.
And I understand this car has some folklore history to it.
It has some folklore. One of the anecdotal stories about this car was it was shipped from the factory in St. Louis, ended up in Reno, Nevada. Anecdotal history is that it was an undercover car for the FBI. And one funny little thing about it is these side rails here were very badly marked on the other side of the car, and strangely enough on the passenger side. And I couldn't figure that out, so some guy said to me, well, you know why? It was an FBI undercover car, and those are from the hooker's high heels. John Morris, from Brentwood Bay, 1963 Corvette Stingray. Love the car. I love the acceleration that it has. 300 horsepower V8.
You know, big shot.
Original radio, AM, FM.
We're going to take a look at the engine, but before we do, can you tell us about these vents?
Yes, these were originally going to be an open vent, and the design people didn't like the look of that. Common word for these is cookie sheets, and it's one of the unique things about the 63 Corvette with these, quotes, cookie sheets and no ventilation. The only ventilation is from the front of the car out. They have vents on the side of the car. They're just for decoration too. So one of the aspects of this car is it heats up well, and you have to keep driving it. So let's look at the engine. This is the 327, it's the same block, and it's a 300 horsepower engine with a 4-speed transmission and a large 4-barrel carburetor. And of course we use premium gas. I've had it up to about 75 miles an hour, and that's about as far as I think I would push it.
It would go further than that.
It would go further than that.
Yeah.
And of course, the car is now 53 years old, and it has about 75,000 miles on it.
That's pretty low mileage.
That's roughly for where it's been. Spent a lot of time in Arizona, and then I got further. Started north, and before this last person bought it before me, it was in Washington State, and then it came up across the border, and I finally got my dream fulfilled. Very unique paint job. There was very few of them painted saddles, which is what the official color is. The interior is all original. The only thing I had to replace was the ashtray. Well, the dashboard is sort of updated from the previous model years, but it has some still unique features. It has the vertical radio.
AM and FM?
AM, FM, and you can set your stations. Electric clock, which works completely. Special horn. Glove box, and of course you've got to position the mirror because you only have one side mirror, and if you put two on, then it takes away from the originality. Yeah.
Is the steering wheel on this car a little smaller than the 60 convertible?
I'm not sure, but this is a wooden steering wheel, teak wood. There's the 4-speed right there. There's the ashtray. Now, I put this console in because I was so used to having something to put coffee in. That's one of my peeves with some of my good Corvette guys. They say, well, when you're in a Corvette, you don't eat or drink. We're after trying to keep it as original as possible in this modern age.
I'm here with Jim Colwill and his 66 Stingray. Jim, can you tell us something about the similarities and the differences from the 63?
It is a nice comparison. The 5 years that this body style was offered didn't change a great deal in terms of the overall silhouette, but there were a lot of minor cosmetic changes, and there were quite a few changes to the drivetrain. This particular car is painted in trophy blue. Chevrolet obviously offered a blue color in each and every year. In 1966, trophy blue was a unique blue color, not offered in any other calendar year. So that was one of the major attractions for me when I ordered this car new. I have owned the car since new. I bought the car in Boston in the fall of 1965. As you know, the next year's model always came out in the fall of the previous year, and so this 66 became an option for purchase in the fall of 65, and I purchased it just at the end of October. So it's a very early 66 in terms of its serial number and so on. It was produced in the factory in St. Louis. They were produced in Bowling Green and in St. Louis, and this is a St. Louis car. Other unique features that one could option for ranged all the way from such things as air conditioning, power brakes, power steering. These big things I wasn't really interested in, and indeed this car has none of those features. Rather, I was quite taken with small details. And so I have original vinyl floor mats in this car. I have the original locking gas cap, which was an option that not very many people took at the time. And then from a mechanical point of view, I opted for the 4.11 ratioed rear end. Again, an option that wasn't very often taken by Corvette owners.
Why did you go with that one, Jim?
I went with that one because at the time, it was considered to offer the best fuel economy for the car and the most interesting relationship to the Muncie transmission, the 4-speed transmission. And indeed, it does integrate extremely well when it comes to being a driving car. It will let you idle down in high gear, unbelievable at low RPM.
Mm-hmm. So this is completely original. You've had to do, you bought it original, you haven't done a thing to it.
Oh, well, I wouldn't say I haven't done a thing to it, but it has been repainted in the proper original trophy blue color.
Okay.
You couldn't have a car this old free of dings. I drove this as a daily driver for quite a few years. It showed its effect from being in parking lots and so on. And so there wasn't much question about it. In order to have a nice looking car, it did have to be repainted.
I see.
The engine option in this car is so-called Chevy small block, 327 cubic inches, the 350 horsepower version. It was offered in different horsepower versions on the 327, but this is a 350.
We're sitting inside Jim Colwill's 1966 Stingray. Jim, can you tell us a bit about the interior of the car?
Well, the interior is in vinyl. It's all original, and it is totally crack-free and just the same as it came out of the showroom. So that's one of the really nice features about this well-preserved car. Other than that, the dashboard itself is very similar to the earlier Corvettes of this body style. The only minor changes, perhaps in the way the various knobs were designed and shaped. They did change from year to year. But otherwise, the overall effect of the dashboard is similar and virtually the same as in the earlier 63 that you were looking at.
I'm standing in the garage right now, and I'm waiting for Mary Ellen to come up and show us a 64 Schwinn Corvette bicycle. Mary Ellen, can you tell us something about this bicycle?
Absolutely, Joey. This is probably one of my best finds ever on used Victoria. It's a 64 Schwinn Corvette. And Jim's birthday was approaching, and I thought, what can we do to match up an old vintage bike that he was restoring for me? So fortunately found it and bought it, hid it, and it became his birthday present. He's done some fabulous work restoring it as well. It's all back to original. We checked the tires out. They were original too to the bike. So
wow.
Pretty exciting. We drive it. We have some fun with it, and it was just a thrill to give it to him.
Looks like a classic bicycle. Are the accessories all original as well? The 8-ball bell and the 8-ball hair?
Well, it's a blend. Yeah,
Okay.
We added a few extra fun things on, but certainly the grips are original. They were with the bike, changed up the pedals, found the rat trap at the back, put on a coontail, kind of authentic to the era. And we found the Schwinn reflector on a used site out of Wisconsin.
It looks fabulous.
Yeah. Thank you.
And you've got a great looking garage here. Can you walk us through and tell us about the memorabilia?
Absolutely. A couple of years ago, our children moved out and we thought we're going to reclaim the garage. So we started with the checkerboard floor and did that ourselves. And Jim had been collecting for about 26 years, so he had lots of good things to work with. And some of it is original and some, of course, is the reproduction. Some of our fun things would be the original Coke signs behind us, some of the Quaker State signs that you'll see.
Do you have a favorite piece here?
I think I gotta say it's the bike.
It's the bike?
But you know, the big screen TV is fun on date nights too. So we come out and have a little fun drive-in and have a glass of wine, enjoy ourselves. We worked hard to pull this off, and so it's fun to be able to enjoy it.
So I understand you just park the car right in the garage,
Yeah.
turn on the big screen,
Yeah.
and it's your own drive-in.
Absolutely, yeah.
We're standing in Jim's trophy room right now, and there's some very interesting historical pictures. Can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, this one here was the very first time I'd ever shown the car. I just got in the car in late 1990. I was invited by Al Clark, who does the Deuce Day shows, to attend this 3-day Autorama to Jazz in the old Memorial Arena. I had never shown the car to anybody. It was all new to me. And he invited me to come to be part of this show. There's my car right here. It was a 3-day show. It was really exciting, a little nerve-wracking at first because these people had had their cars for a long time and I was new to the hobby. But I went to it, so that's kind of how it all started.
And you've got an awful lot of trophies here. I don't know where to begin.
The first trophy I ever won, that was in 1992, which was the next year. I'd never won a car trophy of any kind, ever. A few weeks before that show, I put the white wall tires and the hubcaps on it, so it was finally finished. I went to this show. There's probably about 100 cars showed up, which was a medium-sized show, and I ended up winning Best of Show the first time I'd shown it with it completed with the white walls. So that was a thrill, and as I say, all the other ones are great, but you always remember the first car show.
I'm
And my
sure.
brother was just not a few blocks away, and he came over and congratulated me for winning my first car show, so, which was just a couple of years ago. And this was at the Glen Lake Inn. They had a little show there, and I won the People's Choice Award. Okay, this one here, this little treasure, this was found by Mary Ellen at a Value Village. I wasn't with her. she came home with this and look what I found. I'd never seen one before. It's a 63 split window, same as John Morris's car.
Right.
And I thought, oh, this is kind of nice. And so she says, yeah, and it had a battery in it and everything. So what happens when you turn it on? Here's the light. But what's even funnier is this. I think this sounds exactly like John's. There it goes now. So you can imagine like the light and having something like that. I think she would be like $5 for
Oh
it.
my goodness.
I've never seen one before, and it's
That's
in mint
terrific.
shape.
Ah.
So yeah.
So this collection here, Joey, is the millionth Corvette poster, and that was sent to Jim from one of his cousins back east that also has a vintage Corvette. This is my Raleigh bike that started all the adventure for me to find the bike for Jim. These are 3 magazines that the Corvette has been featured in. Vet Magazine, Canadian Hot Rods, and Cruising out of Australia.
3 magazines in 1 year.
So here's our little fun area. All the condiments are there. Of course, a popcorn machine, fun little jukebox. So we just enjoy going out and exploring what's out there and finding it's a treasure. If you look up high, there's a new sign to our collection we found just down at Puyallup a couple of weeks ago. A young couple out of the US were putting these together, and if you look closely, I thought it was perfect. It happened to be Jim's birthday when I gave it to him. This is a key part of the Corvette. Of course, it's not on there today. That's our hard top. Very easy to put on and off, and sometimes we change the car up with its looks. When that one goes on, we often convert it to a race look, put on some numbers onto the car, take the headlights off, tape them up, take the hubcaps off, and just like it was in the day when I used to race it at the track, drive in the day. And I was out doing a race one day, a 5-kilometer run. I came home and my vacuum did not look the same anymore. He changed it, he'd taken it out, spray bombed it, attached a gas nozzle to it, and now that's our vacuumator that does not quite look like a vacuum any longer. But Jim and of course many of the guys in the car world are detail oriented, so the old olive color did not work in here and it was changed up. The Corvette sign, of course, is what we sometimes put on the car when we're displaying it at shows so that
Right.
people, spectators coming by can have a nice look and understand a little more about the car. It's a fun car. I call it a happy car. You're happy when you get in it and people are always
kidding.
happy to see it.
Well, it's such a beautiful design. I mean, all the lines on it are so smooth and sporty. How could you not like a design like that?
Car collectors are detail oriented. Full credit to Jim. Not only does he keep the garage spotless, he keeps our house spotless.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to do this, Mary Ellen.
Thank you, Joey. Pleasure.
We hope you've enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to know more about vintage cars, or if you have a vintage car you would like us to take a look at, you can contact me by email, joey@vintagecarsvictoria.com. Bye for now.
Clothing for Joey Scarfone provided by Tip Top Tailors.